our next session is the coaching and mentoring session. We're going to be talking about how coaching and mentoring differ, why they're valuable, and successful strategies for each. So as a disclaimer, just like for all the other sessions today, unless otherwise noted, no statement in the seminar should be construed as an official position of any federal agency. So we're going to start off with talking about coaching, going to talk about how is coaching defined, the benefits, successful strategies for being a coachee or a coach, how to find a coach or become a coach, sorry for the typo there, and also have time for questions and answers. We're going to then talk about mentoring, so dive more deeply into mentoring, what are the benefits of mentoring, all the different types of mentoring, and the successful strategies for being a mentor or a mentee, and then have time for questions as well. So first off, we're going to start with the introduction to coaching. And Liz Winters is here with us from the Federal Coaching Network, Office of Personnel Management. She has worked in federal leadership development and coaching at OPM for over 4 years. She holds a graduate degree in industrial organizational psychology and manages the Federal Internal Coach Training Program and the Federal Coaching Network in collaboration with the Chief Learning Officers Council. Welcome, Liz, and you can take it from here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm excited to talk to you about coaching today. It's my life, and I would love to share this experience with all of you to see how you can incorporate it into your development as well. So we'll first start off with talking about what is coaching. So the definition here is taken from the International Coaching Federation website. And is probably the most succinct definition of what coaching is. Essentially, it is a coach who's been trained with specific skills in leading a client through navigating an issue. The coach then asks thought-provoking questions and takes the client through a creative process where they tackle their issue and come up with creative solutions to tackle any problems that they're facing. It's very targeted to what the client wants, and the client definitely takes the lead in deciding what they want and need from the session, and comes up with solutions to how they want to reach a goal. And the client acts somewhat as the Sherpa to guide them through that process. In a coaching session, what you could expect to happen is that all of the information that is shared in that session between the coach and the client is confidential. The coach will never speak about what is happening in those coaching sessions to others. That makes for a better relationship for that client to be able to really explore all of the difficult issues that they may face, knowing that they'll be in a place of safety to
Sorry, 1 second. There is an issue with seeing the slides. Are other folks seeing the slides?
Yes, we see them.
Okay.
Still on what is coaching.
Yep. Sorry, there's someone who said they couldn't see the slides. So so maybe I would probably refresh your screen. So sorry about that. Let's continue on. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, I want to make sure people can see everything. So that was a nice pause there. So will coaching session be at work time or personal time? That's up to you when your coaching session is. So all of the information there is confidential, and the coachee would give any permission to share outside of that session if necessary. But that would definitely be something that the coach and the client discussed beforehand. It would never be a surprise. As I mentioned earlier, the coaches are trained with specific skills and techniques to help create awareness for clients, and they facilitate these conversations that create awareness using definitely strategic questions. And the one thing that sets coaching apart from some other leadership development experiences, particularly mentoring, is that coaches do not give any advice to clients. Clients come up with their own solutions and take action on the solutions that they've created for themselves through the conversation. And finally, the coachee drives the agenda, drives the goals, and drives the actions to be taken. So it's really empowering the coachee in that situation to work through an issue and then make some serious decisions on next steps so that they can find their own success. Next slide, please. So the next slide here is talking about the benefits of coaching. The benefits come at all levels of an organization for coaching. So for the organization, we definitely see an increase in productivity and engagement, not only for the immediate work team of the person being coached, but in general across the organization. There are improved retention rates when more people in an organization are coached, and there are better inter-organizational relationships. For the coachee, I think this is the place where we think about where the benefits come, because the benefits come here first. So it sustains someone's professional growth. There's more productivity in their work. Coachees are able to increase more focus on their mission and their organizational objectives. They definitely expand their network, and they work through different hurdles that they encounter throughout different stages in their career, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then it just gives them an increased awareness and the ability to feel as if they have more capability in making decisions and improve their decision-making skills. Coaches also get benefit from this. I think the one that is not listed here is that coaching, and I'm a coach, so this is why I can say this, coaches generally feel renewed and refreshed. Many times the experiences that their clients are going through are similar to what coaches are going through. So it is definitely an interesting experience. But some of the things we've listed here are they have an opportunity to vary their daily experience. So if you are like me, you have a very regimented schedule for when you address things throughout the day. And so coaching may help you break that cycle of what you do in the day and allow you to think about things a little bit differently and take time for the things that you want to be focused on to do better in your work, or to focus on the goals that will help you develop yourself professionally. Next, the ability to support and develop others and give back. I think that is a major benefit for coaches, is being able to help other people. And then this increased interaction with a field of diverse federal colleagues. There's definitely a broad network building between coaches, as well as between coaches and clients across federal organizations, and making some of those relationships happen. And the coach also gets new perspectives on what the challenges that people are facing in their work are. So my question to you now, and I'm excited to hear the answer here, is if you've been coached in the past and you are comfortable sharing, what are some of the reasons that you sought for finding a coach?
So please add in and make sure you've selected all panelists and participants. So some things included: wanted help with my goals, self-advocacy, just wanted to try it out, career development, guidance to help identify next steps, feeling stuck in my career, self-development, networking, career insight, need a positive source of encouragement, reaching a particular goal, clarity in writing, navigating my agency, walking through issues to find a solution, input for a career path, guidance, work-life balance, third-party perspective, neutral third-party perspective, curiosity. Some of them went by too quickly. I think a lot of people have been coached in the audience. There are a lot of answers that came by.
That was great. Thank you so much, everyone, for stepping forward and providing some of those reasons. So common reasons for being coached here, I want to say that 75% of these reasons on this list here were listed exactly in the comments that you posted there. So developing your leadership skills, facilitating professional transitions, feeling stuck and wondering how you can move to the next place, organizing and prioritizing your professional responsibilities. A lot of people use coaches as leaders. A lot of people use coaches to clarify their vision and really define who they want to be and how they want to show up as leaders in their organization. And I think sometimes that particularly comes when roles are transitioning or when new responsibilities are coming on to your plate. Clarifying that vision is really helpful. Facilitating change management is a huge one. And so that can come externally. Maybe the organization has said that change needs to happen, or maybe you've identified for yourself that some change needs to happen and you know that you need to make a move within the next 1 to 5 years, and you can use a coach to help you sort of get yourself through that thinking process and make some plans, concrete plans for next steps. Achieving professional career goals, I think we saw that listed there. Streamlining efficiencies in your functional work. Solving individual leadership challenges. I think I saw that pop up quite a bit. And as far as that goes, I think this is a very common one. So leadership challenges come up all of the time, day in and day out, week in and week out, and coaches can help you sort of navigate that process to come up with your own solutions. Identifying your core strengths and recognizing how best to leverage them. So a lot of people do assessments. Yeah, I think one of them is the Leadership 360. So coaches, some coaches are trained in giving feedback on particular assessments where your strengths and some of these self-awareness ideas are coming to you from from outside. And in general, most coaches are trained to take some of that and just take those assessments and have a conversation with you to understand what's important about those assessments, what's important about that information, and help you process it in a way that is helpful and productive for you moving forward. The last 2 bullet points here, gaining clarity in purpose and decision making, that's a common one. And then strengthening leadership competencies is one that I think you all mentioned here on regular when we were just running through all those comments. So thank you so much for doing my work for me. So we will move on to the next slide here. So what are the successful strategies for someone being coached? The first thing that you should consider when you would like to be coached is what is really important to you and what would you like to get from the coaching engagement. So when you're thinking about this question, think about how you can clearly communicate your needs and goals, have an idea about the time frame in which you want to discuss the issue that has brought you to coaching, and then know how often you would like to meet with your coach. I think typically in federal government, we say that coaches meet every 1 to 3 weeks with their clients, depending on the urgency of the situation. We would ask that no longer than a month goes by because you start to lose traction if too much time has gone by in between your coaching sessions to take some action towards the goals that you set in those sessions. And then the second here is to consider what you want in a coach and who do you think would be a good coach match. So coaches are trained in different areas. Many of them are sort of coaches for life, and they're always looking for different specialties to be certified in. So some of the things that I can think of for specific skills are maybe conflict management, career coaching, leadership coaching, different things like that. So what kind of skills would you like your coach to have? And how much experience would you like them to have? Some folks feel more comfortable allowing a coach with less experience to help them through their issues when the issues are maybe not so overwhelming to them, and others feel like they sort of know exactly what they want and they know exactly who they might need. And so they will ask for different levels of experience. In the federal coaching network, we have coaches with up to 25 or 30 years experience, and anywhere from 1 to 2 years of experience and all that time in between. If you're looking for a coach from our particular agency, that may be helpful. Typically, when people think about this, they think about whether or not they would feel comfortable being coached by somebody within their own organization, or whether they would really prefer to be coached by someone outside of their organization just for confidentiality purposes. We probably have a lot of veterans in this group. I'm a veteran myself, and so if you feel like you want to have a coach with a military background, because you don't have to explain a lot of things to another veteran, then that may be helpful to you, or maybe something that you feel more comfortable with. And then pre-pandemic, we really asked coaches to make themselves available to coach in person. And so if we get to a place where we can meet in person again comfortably, geographic location may be something that you want to consider. It may be helpful for you to meet with your coach face-to-face in person. Although in this environment, I think now that we have all this video technology, it may be helpful for you. You can find a coach anywhere and be able to make that relationship work as close to face-to-face as possible. The next bullet point here is be ready to commit the time into a coaching session. So as I said earlier, perhaps an hour every 2 to 4 weeks with your coach, and you'll navigate that frequency of relationship of those meetings with them when you establish your relationship. Be prepared and committed to do your own work in between sessions. So you will use your coaching session to identify some action items that you will take in between. And so as you're in that session, just be prepared to make the time to tackle some of those action items that you created for yourself, so that the coaching sessions, will work for you. And then take advantage of coaching in the remote environment. So you can use audio conference lines to coach, and if you're comfortable, you can use video coaching, or if your organization allows video coaching, if you have a video account for yourself, you can use video coaching to do that. So how can you find a coach? This is the question of the day, every day for me. So many agencies have coaching programs established. So if you already know your agency's coaching program manager, you can reach out to them. The Federal Coaching Network is actually established by the Chief Learning Officers Council. And so the Chief Learning Officer in your organization may be able to point you in the right direction. Depending on what that looks like for you and sort of how many degrees of separation between you and the CLO exist, you may try to find the best method to understand how to find a coach through them. And you can ask your training and development office to try and figure out who that person is. The Treasury Executive Institute also provides coaching to partners in their organization. So if your agency participates in TEI, you can also reach out to them for a coach. And if you can't find out who your agency's point of contact is easily, you can email federalcoachingnetwork@opm.gov, and we will do our best to try and connect you with your coaching program manager or chief learning officer. Next slide. So how to become a coach. Coaches in federal government are expected to complete a formal training program. One of those programs, as mentioned earlier, I run myself, so it's the Federal Internal Coach Training Program. There is a max.gov site there that you can look to find out more information. You can also email federalcoachingnetwork@opm.gov to find out the next opportunity. I will say that we are not going to announce the next opportunity until sometime in July. So be on the lookout for that. And then if you don't see anything by mid-July, you can email us and we'll tell you when when the application will be sent out. Also, you can look to external coach training programs. So the International Coach Federation has a list of certified coach training programs there. I would suggest, wherever you can, see if you can find training money from your organization. That's ideal, right? If not, you may have to pay out of your own pocket to get some of these trainings. But here, the Federal Internal Coach Training Program is free if you are selected for it. And then we have some resources on the Federal Coaching Network here. So you can go to our max.gov site and find information. And there is also a Coaching and Government Wiki page sponsored by OPM. So you can go to our website there and find information. So what are the successful strategies for being a coach? So when you think about being a coach, for those of you who are wondering, you really want to identify your target coaching audience. For me, it's federal employees, so I learn as much as I can about the different challenges that federal employees face. You should know how much time you can put into this effort. So I am a federal coach, but I do have a full-time job, and so coaching is tangential to what my actual job focus is. So I know that I can only coach for 3 hours a week, most weeks. Know how you're going to work it into your current responsibilities. Definitely speak to your supervisor about your want to coach and make sure that you have their support to do that. And then when you are in those sessions, when you're a coach, be committed to the relationship. Make sure that you're preparing and able to be fully present in your sessions. Be ready to create an environment for your client of trust and safety and confidentiality, and then be prepared to listen actively and communicate clearly with your clients moving forward. So we have a list of coaching resources and references. The first here is a memo that we put out in 2018, the last time we had a director at OPM, on essentially this sanctioned coaching as a developmental experience in government. So you can go there and find information there similar to what we've provided here. We also, as I mentioned earlier, have a coaching and government website. We have a coaching listserv for people who are established coaches already or leaders who are interested in learning more about coaching and promoting coaching in government. So you can email us to access that website and that listserv and have your name added. Again, we have the Federal Coaching Network Wiki and the memo is there as well. So what questions do you have for me? I think we have just a few minutes.
So there was one about need to get, there's some feedback. I don't know why. Is that better now? So there was one question about, do you need to get approval from your supervisor to get a coach?
You don't need approval from your supervisor necessarily to get a coach. We do suggest in our memo that people work with their supervisor to list it on their SF-182 so that it's just recorded that you are getting that coaching, but it's up to you how you want to navigate that. We do encourage you to work with your supervisor.
Another question is, how long does the federal coaching program take? The federal coach training program take?
The training program is 8 months long from beginning to end.
And then there was a question about, is ICF the only one that certifies coaches, or are there other certification programs?
ICF is the most prevalent one, prominent one there, but there are several other certifying bodies. IPEC, BCC. If you want to know what they are, you can email Federal Coaching Network at opm.gov and we can help share some of those others as well, but it's certainly not the only one.
Thank you so much, Liz. Laniera, turn your video on. Great. So our next piece is on introduction to mentoring. And just want to start off real quick with a poll. So have you ever been mentored, been a mentor, or I'm new to this? Gabby, if you could pull up this poll and then check all that apply. Have you ever been mentored, been a mentor, or I'm new to this? And it looks like we have over 60% of people that have been mentored, over 50%, around 50% have been a mentor. And it looks like we have around 20% that are new to this. So, so fantastic. A good mix there, the group. So we're going to start off with what is mentoring. And Laniera Jones is here from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. She's a training officer there. She's worked with BEA for 11 years, overseeing workforce development and diversity and inclusion. Throughout that time, she has grown the agency's investment and professional development through their workforce development team and their capacity to provide DISC, coaching, facilitation, and more. So welcome, Laniera. Turning it over to you now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kim. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be with you all this afternoon to talk about mentoring. So as I go through this presentation, please feel free to ask any questions that you have, and I'll be happy to answer them. This session will give you just an overview of what mentoring is. And for those of you who have participated in mentoring programs before, I really encourage you to engage in chat. Let us know your experience. Happy to learn about what others are experiencing. So again, mentoring includes all the elements that you see on your screen, and I'll just give you a brief overview of each one. Mentoring includes providing direction to someone seeking to determine their next steps, sharing knowledge with someone who may not have the same background or skills, motivating an individual through challenges, providing support as needed, giving advice on how to approach situations or methods used to navigate your career, and supporting an individual's goal for their future. These are the main ideas that support mentoring, but there's also so much more to it that we'll cover during our discussion today. Today, our primary focus is on formal mentoring programs. So with Liz's great overview of coaching, thank you so much, Liz. I'm curious to see what you all gleaned from that and the difference between mentoring and coaching. So we have a poll. We want to see which one is mentoring or which one is coaching. So type into chat which one is mentoring and which one is coaching. So option A, the process where a recipient receives advice from someone, often with
Can
more
you start the
experience,
poll?
shares
Sorry. Just
okay, there is a poll.
Gabby to start the poll first.
Okay.
So Gabby, if you can open the poll. So this is poll number 2. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. So which one is mentoring?
So version A is the process where the recipient receives advice from someone, and B is a process where an outside person aids the other person through targeted questioning. Great, thank you, Gabby.
So most of you, 71% said A, which is correct. A is mentoring, and as Liz said, coaching is really an opportunity to use questioning, for a coach to use questioning to help the individual evaluate their situation and determine a way forward. Coaches generally do not provide advice. However, that is the mentor's role, to do advising and to really give and share their experience with someone else who may not have the same skills and experience based on their goals. Now we'll discuss the benefits of mentoring. Mentoring has benefits to both mentors, mentees, and the organization. So I would like for you all to share in chat what benefits you may have experienced if you have been a mentee. As a mentee, what benefits have you experienced?
We have direction as one benefit, tips on effective communication skills. So folks that are still having problems, if you could please call in. So we have communication and writing skills, wisdom of someone who is successful in a position, facilitation planning, enhanced technical skills, recommendations about programs, trainings.
Great, thank you so much. So for mentoring, there are benefits to both the mentors and mentees. Like I said, the mentees are able to experience some connecting. They're able to note connecting with government change makers in a risk-free learning environment. They can identify personal strengths and learn areas and strategies of improvement. Mentors are able to experience increased retention, personal satisfaction through giving back and developing others. And there's so many more listed on the slide here. And you'll see those noted in red at the bottom are the same for both the mentors and mentees. That's intentional. While the mentoring participants will experience distinctly different benefits based on their role, they also have some crossover benefits that they're able to experience from participating in a mentoring program. And I'd like to share a quote with you all from the mentoring program I helped to facilitate. The mentor said, "This program has challenged me to self-evaluate and gain perspective on my own skills and development. As a mentor, not only have I tried to be helpful to my mentee, but this role has pushed me to grow professionally and personally." And that was from a 2020 participant in the ICSP mentoring program, which you'll hear more about later. The organization also benefits from our participation in mentoring programs because we're engaged in something outside of our day-to-day work. As Liz said, mentoring is only part of what we do, just like coaching, and you're fulfilled as a result of it. And the organization will benefit from that. Some of the benefits include improved morale, engagement, and retention, as well as succession planning, which is really big. We want to make sure that we're planning for the future of our organization, and it fosters a culture of learning and innovation. When employees are fulfilled, they are more committed to the organization, and the organization will reap the benefits of that. There are many types of mentoring that we'll talk about today, but formal mentoring programs are the most traditional types of mentoring programs that are facilitated at the agency level. They are generally conducted over within a set time frame, and they might include an informal relationship or be part of a formal mentoring program. Some elements that make formal mentoring different are an intentional pairing of the mentor with a mentee. And this could either be, again, informal or formal. When you think about formal mentoring programs, they have specific ways that they'll pair the mentors and mentees. It happens within a specified period of time. So there's long-term mentoring relationships. That's an ever-evolving partnership as the participant's career grows and evolves. The mentoring partnership may grow and evolve. And there's also short-term mentoring partnerships that may be, again, a part of a formal program where the participants are participating within their agency. There's also situational and just-in-time assistance for immediate challenges that might be faced. The mentoring programs, traditional mentoring may be general or focused, where general mentoring programs are targeted on the employee's overall success, and focused mentoring programs really focus on a project or function, career guidance, things of that nature. Okay. And then there's speed mentoring or flash mentoring. This is a single event during which mentors will meet with a group of mentees. I compare it to speed dating. It's about the same thing. When you think about speed dating, you have brief time conversations, and that's flash mentoring as well. The topics can often be predefined, so the mentors will come prepared to discuss specific topics, and you may hear from different mentors on different topics, or they may discuss their perspective on the same topic. Formal pairings are not made beforehand, but may be a result of speed mentoring. And then there's also reverse mentoring. Reverse mentoring is an opportunity for a senior employee or executive to be mentored by a junior employee. This is really a non-traditional way of mentoring, but according to the Harvard Business Review article that is linked there, it is caught on more for more junior employees to share cultural relevance in technology, among other topics, while again, the mentees, the more senior level participants, will be able to benefit from the partnership as well, learning about strategic leadership from senior level staff. This really helps to drive change, promote diversity, increase technology bandwidth, and it's an intentional agency or organizational partnership for specific purposes. And then we have peer-to-peer mentoring, where you are paired with someone at the same career stage so you can learn and share job-related knowledge. This helps to increase engagement and provide support. Often there's an intentional pairing between a mentor or a mentee and the mentee. When you think about it, this would be someone who would be at your same career level, your same GS level potentially, or your same organizational level that you can really share ideas and lessons learned with. Because while you might be at the same stage in your career, we all had different paths to get there.
Great, thanks so much. And just wanted to now introduce Reggie Mebane, who's coming in from CDC. He's the director of the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, and he's going to be talking to us about a unique type of mentoring called circle and group mentoring.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I purposely didn't have a lot of slides because I wanted to have a conversation with you this afternoon. But before I begin, Kim, if you could do me a favor, I'm going to pose a question to the group and then kind of monitor the responses as they come in over the chat function so we can take a look at them a little bit later. But I'm going to give you, the audience, everyone who's on the call, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer this question. If you had an opportunity to spend 30 minutes with anybody in history, living or dead, from a mentoring perspective, who would that person be? So my person is a toss-up between John Adams and Frederick Douglass. So if you had a chance to spend 30 minutes with anyone historically as a mentor, who would that person be? So let's take a look at those as we go through the presentation, Kim. But again, I want to thank you for having me this afternoon. I'm going to talk about the concept of the mentoring circle, which I've been doing both in the public, in the private sector and here in the federal government all my career. And at the end of the day, leave you with some resources that I hope will be helpful. But let me start by talking about some foundational concepts as it relates to mentoring. So when we talk about mentoring in general, to me, mentoring is about the process of reinvention. And at the end of the day, I believe that you're your own best mentor. And so what you end up doing over your career is choosing people that you see that inspire you in a certain way. But at the same time, I don't believe that any one person can meet anyone's needs 100% from a mentoring perspective. So what you end up doing is creating a composite or an avatar of the person that you want in terms of the things that you need from a mentoring perspective. But in the final analysis, you're your own best mentor. And the idea of one person meeting all those needs, to me, is something that is in the past. You've heard a lot this afternoon about the different types of mentoring, from peer-to-peer to formal mentoring programs. But the idea of the mentoring circle came to me years ago in the private sector. And I've been doing mentoring circles for a long, long time. And here's how it works. The idea is, first of all, to be user-friendly and to once a month get a group of like-minded people together. And we learn from each other. And throughout the year, we have different speakers to come in. And we also not only have speakers to come in, but we also utilize the people within the group to help mentor each other. And what I've found over the years through as a practitioner is that out of the mentoring circle, you develop one-on-one mentoring relationships. And I also know as a practitioner that a lot of times mentoring relationships are pretty much boil down to chemistry, just like with marriages. Either it works or it doesn't. But out of the group, you end up dealing with each other one-on-one and finding that you find within the group one-on-one mentors. And that process works, and it has worked for me for over 20 some odd years. And there's a big difference between having a mentor and a sponsor. A sponsor being someone who has clout and internal credibility within your organization to be able to get things done and support you either through a resource standpoint or putting you in a position where you can be most successful. So it's not only important to have mentors within organizations, but sponsors as well. And also, I want to make sure that as we continue the discussion, the theme for our mentoring circle is mentoring is a way of life. And by that, I mean this isn't something that I do when I'm just at work. All of us in every single aspect of our lives have an opportunity to be a mentor and to be able to send the elevator back down and help someone else. And it's a concept that I believe that I was raised on, that I've seen my parents emulate, and that I've tried to live my entire life around. And so what that means is you don't necessarily have to be a person that's running an organization. You don't have to be a CEO. It has to do with how you live your life as a way of life, being a good son, being a good daughter, being a good mother. All those are opportunities for us to be able to impact people's lives and send the elevator back down. So don't think just because you're in a certain position that you don't have something to offer. All of us have a story to tell and have something to offer. And if you have the emotional capital throughout your life to be able to invest in others, take every opportunity to get it, because I believe it pays big dividends on the back end. And this is not just something that you do, as I said, because it's your job. There's a difference between what I believe is we call life priorities and life balance. I don't necessarily believe in the concept of work-life balance, but I do believe in priorities. And if you look at how people behave and how organizations behave, you make time for the things that are most important. And being a mentor, to me, is muscle memory. It's not even something that I have to think about, because when people reach out, I automatically reach back, because to me, if we're not doing this from a personal perspective and we're not convinced to do it from a commitment standpoint, I don't know why we're here. So to me, it's just the way I live my life. And you have an opportunity to be able to do that, whether it's in your church or through your fraternity. In life, you have an opportunity. You can be a mentor at any level, in any role. A couple other concepts that I think are foundational as you begin to have these mentoring discussions is, right now, our nation's on fire. The issue of race relations is prevalent, not only in our nation and in our communities, but in the workplace as well. And if you're mentoring somebody and you're not having any difficult conversations, then you're not meeting your responsibilities as a mentor, and you're ignoring the dinosaur in the living room. And so if you're mentoring someone and you're not prepared to answer those questions, then get prepared to answer those questions and get prepared to have those difficult conversations, because people are looking for guidance. And we can focus on all these other things, but if we don't have the opportunity and the ability as mentors to deal with these issues head on and to have those hard conversations and to model a way, then we're missing a great opportunity here. And you should be bringing it up even if your mentees are not bringing it up. And so you think about mentoring from a systems perspective. And I had the opportunity years ago to spend some time at MIT with Peter Senge, the great father of systems thinking. And I learned a few things. First of all, in order for me to be able to mentor anyone else, I first have to understand myself. That involves me having a strong grasp on the concept of emotional intelligence, understanding how others feel and how I relate to myself and how I relate to others. That's the beginning. But the ultimate goal is to have beyond emotional intelligence, social intelligence, is to move beyond understanding that we're wired together as human beings. Our brains are wired together from a chemistry standpoint and from a DNA standpoint. We connect to people through our brains. And ultimately, being able to go into an organization or a role or a scenario, being able to do an environmental scan and understand not only how to survive in that organization or in that scenario, but how to thrive. So you start with emotional intelligence, and then you build on that with the ultimate idea of gaining social intelligence or street smart to be able to survive in any situation. And it comes back to what I said earlier. At the end of the day, you're your own best mentor. So the lessons that you learn from the different people in your life, you begin to create that avatar or that composite character. And what you have in the end is what I call your own personal board of directors. You know, you should have someone that you turn to from a financial perspective, someone that you look to as a mentor from a spiritual perspective, someone at work in terms of your work discipline and your work life. Those are the types of people that you begin to have a very small circle or board of directors to help guide you, so that when you come to the table, you have the opportunity to be able to have more than one option to be able to get the kind of answers you need, depending on where you are and the challenges that you're facing in your life at that particular time. So understanding self, understanding others, which leads you to be able to function and survive from a social intelligence within groups and within systems and within companies and within organizations. So the idea of the mentoring circle, to me, is something that works as a practitioner. I've gone through all the different types of mentoring programs in the past, but what works for me is every single month that I have a meeting, there will be somebody who will reach out to me from a one-on-one perspective. And when they reach out, I reach back. And that's literally how it works. And also the generational challenge that we have in understanding that we're not the the wise people sitting at the top of the mountain with all the answers. The greatest challenge we have from a mentoring circle perspective and a mentoring perspective in general is generational diversity. People are working longer. You got 5 or 6 different generations in the workplace at the same time. You need leaders who are able to connect across generations to meet people where they are and to be able to give them what they need in terms of the guidance related to their careers and to their lives. So therein, you begin to formulate your ideas about what's important and priorities and give them guidance and allow people to help reach the answers that they need on their own. So I could probably go on and on, but I think the mentoring circle concept to me is one that has worked and continues to work. And I'm going to leave you with a few resources in case you want to reach out and join our mentoring circle at the CDC. You can reach out to me, and Kim knows how to do that, and we can add you to our distribution list. Right now, we have over 150 people on our distribution list for the mentoring circle. And it's not just people within the federal government. There are private sector people as well, and people at all levels of the organization, because I believe we can learn just as much from anyone in the organization, necessarily having a leadership position to teach or to learn from each other. If you want more resources related to mentoring, I'll leave you also with the idea of reaching out on LinkedIn. There are a lot of great resources on LinkedIn related to mentoring. One that I've discovered recently beyond LinkedIn is called the Lunch Club, lunchclub.com, where you can actually reach out and become a member of a lunch group, and you can meet for different reasons. And one of those reasons is networking and mentoring. That's a more recent one, but it works well. And I hear a lot of people get a lot of great experience in mentoring from the Lunch Club. And then there are a lot of groups on Facebook where you can reach out to and become members of as well. Almost anything you want from a group standpoint, you can find on Facebook, but the groups that they have tend to have a lot of validity and do a good job of being able to link people to great resources for whatever the group is that you want to join. And then last and certainly not least, going back to the monster in the living room, which has to do with the race relations and racism and the challenges that we face from a mentoring perspective, I'll leave you with this. If you have an opportunity to go to take the Harvard Implicit Bias Test, you can Google it, and then you begin to see and accept the fact that we're all struggling with this, and we don't know it all, but we can learn as much from each other as we can from the experts. So take the implicit bias test and begin to become that anti-racist that you need to be, because we can no longer stand on the sidelines from a mentoring perspective. We have to engage whenever we can. And then last and certainly not least, there is a researcher by the name of Dr. David Williams at Harvard. And there is a tool that he has developed over the years called the Everyday Discrimination Scale. And if you have an opportunity, take a look at that. And then it's another tool that you can use in your toolbox to be able to handle these tough, hard conversations. And if we don't start ourselves as leaders with the tough, hard conversations, everything else that we mentioned is kind of like ignoring that the house is on fire. We need to address it first and be the leaders that we know we need to be for people who are seeking answers right now. And I'll end, Kim, because I know I'm over time, by saying that I'll go back to the beginning. It's a way of life. It's not something that I turn on or off as a faucet. You're either genuinely authentic or not. And you either want to send the elevator back down or you don't. And when you do it from a lifetime perspective and from a commitment perspective, it just becomes muscle memory. And therein, to me, is the ultimate reason why we're here on Earth. So I'll stop right there.
Thank you so much, Reggie. And I will get all of the resources that you mentioned together from you, and also your email address, and share with all the registrants. And sorry, we are over time. So we'll have to breeze through the last part a little bit quicker, Laniera, but I'm turning it back to you. Thanks so much, Reggie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Reggie, for sharing about the circle mentoring. And hopefully everyone can hear me just fine now. Kim, can you move forward to slide 37, please? We're just going to breeze through this really quickly. And it's important to understand that there's work that needs to be done in mentoring. And I think Reggie alluded to this really well. As the mentor and the mentee, you have to put in the work for the relationship to be successful. It's really important to be successful as a mentee. You need to understand the expectations of either the program you're participating in, the person that you're working with. Mentoring is really mentee driven. So as the mentee, you are sitting in the driver's seat of how this relationship will move forward. You have to set clear goals for the mentor to be able to assist you along the way. You commit to meeting and learning, scheduling those meetings and all of that. I think it's really important to accept feedback as a gift. Your mentor will provide you feedback and you accept it as a gift, just like you would accept a gift from anyone else. That gift, you can put it on the shelf and decide what to do with it later, or you can open that gift excitedly and begin to use it. So feedback is really a gift to be accepted from your mentor. Listen actively, be attentive, reflect what the person is saying, don't judge, seek for clarity, summarize and share from your perspective, and communicate clearly and openly. As there are questions that you can use to really get the ball rolling with your mentoring relationship. In a formal program, sometimes you're matched with someone you may not know, and you can use these questions to help guide and understand more about your mentor's perspective to be able to target those questions. So the questions are here and they will be shared in the resources that, that Kim shares out. And there's some additional questions on the next slide as well. And then from the mentor's perspective, you must be fully present to be able to provide the proper level of support. You're building a safe learning environment and a culture of trust, psychological safety, empathy, confidentiality, and respect. This relationship is really important. Without the protection that it deserves, it may not prosper. So we really want to make sure that those expectations are clear. You understand the mentee's goals to focus on helping the mentee meet them. Provide encouragement and motivation. There's so much going on. And that feedback that you provide needs to be intentional. So be intentional about the feedback because it is a gift and you always want to pick out an intentional gift for the person that you're giving the gift to, really. Use technology. Kim mentioned this as you have at your disposal. Please use the technology. I'm sorry, Liz mentioned the technology that you have at your disposal to meet and make it more intimate, not just a phone call, sometimes a video call, virtual meeting, other things where you can see the other person and really build off of that relationship, and then communicate clearly and listen actively. And we'll go to the next slide. Active listening is integral to making a relationship. I'm sure we can all think about relationships that we have been in, personal and professional, where we don't feel like we were actually being listened to. Knowing and understanding what are the blocks to active listening, really the things that inhibit your listening, allows you to target that improvement in your mentoring partnership. I always encourage our mentoring program participants to identify their blocks with their partner, encouraging them to point out when they feel their block is interfering with their active listening. No matter how intentional we try to be, there are times where things may distract us from engaging actively in that relationship. So these blocks to active listening really allow you to name and claim them and then be able to work on them moving forward. Thank you all so much for your time today. I am happy to accept any questions in chat and I'll do my best to respond to them. And I appreciate being asked to be a part of this event. Kim?
Thank you so much, Laniera and Liz and Reggie. Fantastic presentation.